G'day guys, welcome back to another video. I'm sorry I look like such a mess, but I'm in the middle of fixing a project which I'll talk about in a second. Just a bit of an update. As you know, I've been working on the A4 B5. It's coming along really well. I think last I left off, there's, I took off the front mount, disconnected the top, the front bars on the roof there, because I've got no space really. I just wish I had more space, but with all things, appreciate that I've got a cover, and some people don't, so really lucky to have this space at all. But just a bit of an update on the project, where everything is at, how far I've come. So I've got the turbo mounted on loosely. There's no nuts holding the manifold. I got the exhaust manifold onto the turbo. That was a bit of a pain in the ass. Let me just remove this turbo cover to show you the turbo. So it is a GTX 6789 or something. So where I'm at the moment is that I've got the turbo mounted to the exhaust manifold. This nut here, freaking pain in the ass. Don't know who designed this, but they didn't think about that, so they needed to perhaps space this out a little bit. I did buy a spacer plate, but it's still not going to fix that. So anyway, I managed to get everything on. I got the perfect nut for it. The next thing I did was I got all the lines mounted on, and that was a pain in the ass as well, because everything's all new to me. Never worked on a turbo like this before, so just trying to get the measurements. Wasn't sure if this is 1/8, 1/4, NPT, APT, NPT, whatever it is. I'm just unsure just unsure altogether. So learning curve of what all these sizes are. So in the end, I ended up getting, I think this is an 1/8 NPT. That's the female and male. And then I got to the other side, it's I think it's 12.5 into the oil cooler. So you need a 12.5 metric. And the other side of that is, whatever you want. So I got the, 1/8 or 1/4 NPT, I think, male, so that it just plugs in and I don't need any more converters. What else did I do? I got all the plumbing done for the oil, so that's the oil feed. I've got the oil coolant feed, and that sort of feeds back to the original spot. I've just I'm gonna hook it up to just like a hose that I bought from a local store. That should do it. I'm not looking for fancy, just trying to make it work and make it look OEM is my goal. The oil return, I got that plumbed in, and I used the original some of the original hose. I sort of cut that off and got a hose onto it that, if you can see it, that's up there, that's a little bit there, comes back through there. So, and the last part there is the oil water return. That's, don't know why it's so large, but that's the hose I'm going to use with the hose clamp. That's going to go down to so that's the oil return, by the way. The water return is down there, and that goes to the block, and that's the oil feed. So that's all sorted, that's all loosely on. When I get the downpipe on and measured and working, that's when I'll start to button everything up. While waiting for the downpipe to be worked on, because it is really tight here, so it's going to need a real sick bend, and then another bend, and then a cat with a wideband with 2 O2 sensors. So that's being worked on. It's almost there. It just needs to be all welded up. So shout out to Darcy for doing that. Local legend. While I was waiting for that to be done, I've got a bunch of hoses, 3-inch 90% to another. Don't know if you can see it there. You can see it there. I got this from Aliexpress or eBay. It's a 3-inch coupler with a little DV diverter valve connector. So I got one of those, and that is for the PCV. So I'll tell you more about that in a second. The second part is I've got the other hose. I've got the DV through there. So I've got another 3-inch silicone connector with another DV connector, and that's connected all the way to the intercooler. So that's the hose there that goes from around there to down there, and that's plumbed in properly, so that'll let out any pressure that it needs. For the PCV, here it is. That's plumbed in to that spot that I showed you before, and I'm gonna cut this down with an angle grinder and then just plumb that like that. So it's not gonna look too pretty there, but it's gonna at least have everything that I need plumbed in. I wanted PCV. Do not want to muck around with, you know, venting that to atmosphere and all the rest of it. I just want to keep it OEM. Similarly with the diverter valve. Then you've got the N75, so I wanted to keep that if I can. If not, I'll run a manual boost controller, which I've got set here. This I've sort of done in parallel with the N75 to limit the boost spikes. So that's from my old setup, but I'm going to keep it, see how that goes, and then might delete that altogether if the tune's not happy with it. So it's all going to depend on the tune, N75, and the wastegate connector, the wastegate spring. So I've got a standard spring in there at the moment. I hope it's going to be okay, because getting to the wastegate actuator there is a pain in the ass. I feel like I could probably get to it if I get the hose off, so that's not too bad, but I don't. But anyway, right now the current setup is going to let me run the pod down to the bottom. I'm not a fan of this, even though fresh air is good for the engine. I just feel like if I drove it on a bad day when it's raining all of a sudden, that's going to be a problem. I know you can get a sock for it, so I'll definitely get the sock to try and help it. But what I really want to do, I've ordered a 3-inch U-shaped intake. It's going to be tight in here, so I'm going to order a really short pod filter as well to give me a lot more room. So the idea is the U is going to come up to maybe there, and I'll connect that to that new pipe. It's going to have the MAF, so MAF is probably like there, and then I've got that little bit for the mushroom, so the pod. That means I don't have any room for diverter valve or PCV, so you know, it's I might have to cut the U down as far down as possible and try and add in those two in there, which means maybe I point the rest of it down to the engine bay somehow, but not as far down as that, so maybe halfway down into the abyss down there, and try and, you know, add in as many connectors as I can for the DV and the PCV, because I really want to keep that. But that's the update with the A4. I'm sorry I haven't filmed any of this lately, because it's been real busy travelling to different states. I'm from Australia, so I've been travelling to Adelaide, Queensland, New South Wales, going to Perth, so it's just part of my job. So yeah, so it's coming along really well. The intercooler is sorted as well. I reused the original intercooler pipe. I cut it down in half at a specific spot, turned the pipe up so that I could connect it up to the outlet here on the turbo, and it fit perfectly with the DV connector down there as well. So just one cut there, turned the pipe 90 degrees almost, and then it was pretty good. So the only thing I need to get is the bead roller for there, so I can pop the clamps on without having to worry about it coming off. If not, I'll just hairspray it and do that for now. Alright, so that is the latest update with the A4. So at this point, I'm just waiting for the downpipe, and then I'll button everything up. I will leave the fuel pump. So the other thing I need to do here is next is to injectors and fuel pump. Oops, injectors, fuel pump. That's going to come after. I like to do everything in stages. My setup works already with my current 360cc injectors with the Mark IV GTI ECU. That works. On my K04, I'm going to leave it so I can start it and make sure it runs smooth, idles, no leaks, and then I'll jump onto the fuel pump, test that, make sure it doesn't leak, and then I'll do the injectors last along with the ECU. So injectors and ECU I'll do at the same time. It's a Quattro Motorsport ECU with his injector. Fingers crossed it works, otherwise I'll revert back to my old ECU and touch base with Chris at Tuning Techniques. So that's the latest. Appreciate everyone watching and following so far. If you like the video, leave a like. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.